Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the side.
Welcome to the 49er Faithful UK show. We do love the NFL, but Mondays like this remind us that it is a brutal and unforgiving sport. The game started badly, it got worse, and then it really went downhill. If it could go wrong, it went wrong, and a bitter mix of relentless misfortune and some frustration saw the Niners fall 31-7 to the NFC champion Eagles. We've loved doing the review shows, beating the Seahawks, beating the Cowboys, but today's show might not be quite as enjoyable. But we do aim for it to be good therapy. I'm Gareth Ellis, and the therapists are in. It's Lee Gowland.
It does not feel great, baby.
Paul Hope.
It doesn't feel pretty good tonight, Gareth.
And Najee Kawar.
Hello, everyone.
So, 24 hours on, how are you feeling about the game?
Still pretty raw. Still pretty raw, to be honest.
No, great. Still can't swallow the pill. I haven't slept much.
It's really difficult to get your head around what actually happened because there was so many things that happened that went wrong, and it just felt unfair. It didn't feel as though we were given an opportunity.
No,
I know that sounds daft because injuries happen.
No,
injuries
it's true happen, though. It's true. It's so many what ifs, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just...
I mean, had we been beaten and we hadn't had the injuries and some of the ridiculous calls, anything like that, I'd have been fine with it. Because the Eagles are a good team. They've got a fantastic roster. I think they'll put in a good performance in the Super Bowl. I'm not sure they'll win it, but I think they'll put in a good performance. I don't particularly think we were beaten by a bad side, but I think we were the better roster out of the two of them and had the players we needed on game day, the players who started. If they'd seen out the game, I think it'd have been a different story. So yeah, it feels pretty raw at the moment. Again, we're heading into the off-season now, same as last year, beaten in the NFC Championship game. And this year feels a little bit different because of the amount of turnover that we're just about to run into as far as the playing staff is concerned. So I think it's going to take a little while to get over this one and to come back to our happy place. Because to be honest, I mean, that side there, offensively and defensively, they were excellent and they deserve better than what happened last night.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, actually. I think that's a great point. The fact that the team didn't deserve what happened to them, and because the way the season went and the way we showed the team we were and going 12-0 with QB number 3 and the way we were playing, I think we were the best team in the league. And having that kind of game where you're not essentially allowed to show who you are because of the circumstance, and then frustration builds up, and then you're just a shell of yourself because you've traveled, you're tired, it's over. There's no really any other way about it. And yeah, it's just a shame. And I can't remember who said it, but I think it might have been Jake Goodbye saying so many what ifs, and you're like, oh, what if Brock doesn't hurt himself, or what if Josh Johnson just has a bit of a decent game, or what if they called that fall down catch that wasn't a catch, and what if this, and there's so many, and every time it went their way and not our way. I don't think I've ever seen a game like this, even a game I wasn't a fan of watching, and caring for, a team being that unlucky and so many things going wrong for them, having your running back that potentially is going to play QB. I think that's kind of unheard of. Even in the COVID years, it's happened. It's happened once with the Broncos, didn't it? But they knew how they had time. So, yeah, it's the human nature to try and make sense of it. I think it's a lost cause to try and make sense of it. It's one of those days that football gods were against us, and there was nothing we could do, nothing we could have predicted or wanted that would have changed that.
So you say the football gods. I'm not into conspiracy theories, but the NFL network, the NFL network control the replays that go onto the screen during the game. And they certainly would have had all the replays already lined up because they've got multiple people looking at these replays. And there was one replay that clearly showed that ball bounced on that very first drive. And why that wasn't shown until 2 minutes after the next play is beyond me. I find that very peculiar.
I have beef with that, especially in big spot like this, especially with the NFL saying, oh, we've got New York now that can have a look at every angle, and we've got 15, 20 people looking at this. And there's one game on. There's nothing else on. It's not like they're busy doing something else and they missed it. On the biggest of stage, I think the officiating as a whole this year, and not just for us or against us, but as a whole, I think has taken a step back. And they're really going to have to look long and hard at what they do and how they do it, because I don't think it's good enough for the game. It's a bit of a shame. I don't think that one play has changed anything. We lost by 21, and that was quite a 4-point play because they probably would have kicked a field goal.
That was fourth down.
It was fourth down, wasn't it?
There'd been a turnover on downs.
So 7 points. Still, though, it's one of those. One play doesn't change games, in my opinion. But you're right. Go on, Paul. Tell us what you think. You've been quiet for a while.
I'm normally known, Gareth, as the guy in the group with a smile on my face. And to set the scene, we walked into Welland Road, and my man Nadji was there, and he gave me the biggest man hug. The atmosphere was bubbling. The game started. And unfortunately, buddy, it was a gut punch, wasn't it? Like the chaps have said for the first 5 minutes there. The one thing I will say, though, any other team in this situation loses the first choice quarterback. They write the game off. We went back into that game with a fourth choice quarterback, and every single person that watched party still had hope that we were going to win that game. And that just shows you, for those people that maybe caught up in the emotions with sport, the highs and lows, yes, I'm feeling it the same today. I've not been on social media, been with my good lady, been trying to keep my mind occupied, but it was a gut punch. We know we have a strong roster, like Lee said, and the Eagles didn't exactly beat us. Our defense balled out on the night. But I just wanted to remind everyone that any other team would have sat back after that first drive and said, game's over, we'll just enjoy it, we'll get ready for the Super Bowl. Yet we were still hopeful. Even going in that fourth quarter, the atmosphere in the Elland Road watch party was up there. It was a great meet, despite the result. And I think that was what I wanted to get across at the start. Also, as well, congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles. I did have a couple of messages from some Eagles fans this morning, which, to be fair, were quite respectful. And I did reach out to those people I've done pods with, say congratulations. They wanted the big one. But yeah, it was just a little bit deflating. And like Lee and Nadji have said, it was just that catch looked awesome in real time. And again, I was stood next to Nadji, so I had my own analyst there, and straight away Nadji was like, that's not a catch. It's not a catch. And we were waiting. We were all looking at the screen, Gareth, for the replay. The replay didn't come on. So I can understand why Kyle didn't throw the challenge flag. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. He's come out after the game and said maybe he should have. But if he got that wrong, you lose a first down, timeout that early on in the game. But the touchdown for CMC, though, Lee, the celebrations, that moment.
That was good,
Bottling that moment up, guys. I'm keeping that in the off-season because that was unbelievable. It looked good on the TV. Trust me, being there, I can't wait for the next meet-up to celebrate like that with everyone else.
Yeah, it's a shame that the Sky cameras missed that somewhat because of where they were. Yeah, it's because of where they were set up. And obviously, we weren't given any direction to where to stand, so we all stood as far away from the Sky cameras as possible.
No, we did the typical British thing, didn't we? We walked in, we went to the far end, and we started filling up from the bottom end, and then halfway
which makes sense, right? It makes sense. That's what you do.
Wasserman's came over and were like, "Can you guys move?" And we were like, looked around, and we were like, "We're not telling the faithful to move. We're all set up. We've got our flags. We're watching the game. No chance." So the poor Skyman, Gareth, had to bring his equipment to us, but by that point the game was already done. So I don't think he got any more footage.
So I just want to bring up a point there about the challenge and throwing the challenge flag. The thing is, Kyle has somebody sat up on top, looking down, actually looking at the reviews and advising them. So yeah, it's ultimately the head coach's decision. But if there's somebody up in the booth saying, I've no idea because I can't see the replay, they haven't shown us an angle that looks as though it's not a catch. They've only shown the angles that look as though it was a catch. then he has to go with that. And it's the NFC Championship game, and every time out was going to be critical. Every decision is going to be critical, and that's why I picked fault with the NFL Network. Why not didn't they show that angle much sooner?
It was Fox, wasn't it? Fox had the cameras, but
Yeah.
the same difference. The only thing that people say is when Devonta Smith said, "Let's go, let's huddle, let's run a play." That should have been a big
Red flag. But then again,
a big red flag. But also,
right.
they ran a play within 10, 15 seconds. That's not a lot of time to take a decision, especially in a moment like this.
And players do that to try and get the opposing team to waste timeouts as well.
Absolutely. It could have been mind games. It's one of those. Kudos for the Eagles to play that well and get the playoff on time. Bad on Fox and the replay people in New York to not just buzz it down to the ref saying, "Hold on a second, that's not a catch." Because it's the NFC Championship. You don't want to see this in big games like this. It's annoying, but again, it's one play. Did it make a difference in grand scheme of thing? I don't think so.
It all depends on whether or not you believe in the butterfly effect.
Exactly, there's a chaos theory. Yeah. I mean,
chaos.
obviously, but you can't think like that because then you don't do anything. I stop blinking just in case my blinking triggers us losing every game forever. It's nonsense. You can't live like this. You can only go by the facts, and the fact that is they scored 31 points, we scored 7. It's that simple.
We did have a great discussion, Gareth, at one point when we weren't sure whether Brock was coming back, and we didn't know whether we were going to try and sneak Jimmy Johnson on or Trey Purdy, or we were talking about swapping jerseys around, and that banter was funny. That lifted the spirits, didn't it, Nigel? We were all stood around talking because we weren't sure at one point whether Brock was coming back, Gareth, and then obviously, our fourth.
Yeah, we didn't have the commentary, so we had no idea how bad of an injury of Brock it was. I mean, it clearly looked like he couldn't do anything, and I really liked his demeanor after the game when he talked. He explained what he said to Carter. I don't know if you guys heard the interviews, but he was very humble, and he was saying, "Look, if you need me to go in, I'll go in, but I'm in a lot of pain. I cannot throw the ball. So just so you know, I'll go in, but I can't do anything. So you let me know what you want me to do, coach, and I'll be here if I need to, but I can't do much." And
I didn't see that one. I saw Fred Warner come out and say, if it wasn't for that guy, we wouldn't be here, which, again, I love the team spirit, and they're the things that I'm holding on to. But as Nadji said, Gareth, there was a fire alarm at Ellen Road and it knocked out all the PA system. So we had multiple TV screens. We just didn't have the commentary, so we were on our phones trying to find out updates, and I think we got the sound back in the third quarter, which by that point... was a bit pointless, but it was.
You didn't miss much on the commentary because no one really knew. He was just on the sideline, and then suddenly Johnson's in, and you can see him talking, and you can see Purdy, with the arm movement trying to throw a ball, clearly in some discomfort, and coaches talking and physios working on the arm. But there wasn't really much information for the entire of the first half, really. And I think we still just listed questionable in the second half. Like I said, if he's able to take the field, unlike Johnson with the concussion who was prevented, then that's all you've got. And I think we've talked about the catch. I don't think that was a turning point. I think the injury clearly was. And I think people have said with hindsight the game was pretty much over at that point, because this isn't losing your starting quarterback in an NFC Championship game and bringing in your backup, your QB2. This is losing your third in the championship game and bringing in a guy who was signed pretty much so that Brock Purdy would have some company, I think, really, in terms of a veteran presence and someone to help him through it. And obviously,
pretty much
provide this, but because that's what it is. It's not a backup quarterback taking the field; it's a fourth string quarterback. So at that point, I think that's clearly the turning point. We can talk about coaching and anything else and missed challenge calls. I don't think any of that would be relevant necessarily to the conversation if Brock was still playing. So, to me, that was the second hammer blow, and the game just kept delivering them, I think.
Yeah. On that note, if we want to go even more somber before we get trying to find some positivity out of this, I've seen a report that there is a chance that he might require surgery that will take him out for about a year. A pretty bad injury, which means he will miss the next season. So with everything we've been through, and I think people can clearly tell that Brock at the very least had a chance to. It was his team to lose in training camp. But if he's sidelined with rehab and everything for 12 months, 9 to 12 months, they said, potentially, depending on the MRI he's doing today. So we'll get that later, I'm guessing. Fingers crossed, touch wood, everyone, that we don't have another major injury. But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of night we've had. We could have lost him for maybe a year. So it's I mean, when does it stop?
I shared that in the group chat this morning, Nadji. You've obviously seen more. I seen that this morning, and I thought I'll share it with you four first before I drop it in the group. And then I decided not to drop it in the group until we got more news. Like you said, the Tommy John surgery. I think Tracy was like, "What are you googling? Googling Tommy John for? Is he going to play for the Niners?" I was like, "Oh, we're going to lose Brock." So that off season, I promised you, Tracy, where we'd have nothing to talk about. Might have to have a little think about that because the quarterback conversation has come back to the forefront. So,
and let's hope it's not that.
So something has just occurred to us.
Go on.
So if it is a Tommy John injury, and he's going to be out for the next 9 to 12 months.
9 to 12 months, yeah, that's right.
There's a quarterback that they may look to sign to back up Trey.
Yep. Absolutely.
I don't know whether the Stingrays will release
Neil Watson will be happy.
I've only thrown a couple.
Yeah. It's different this year though. We can get into that after we've talked about this game. But he's a free agent, right? So
It's a conversation.
It's a lot different. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up at the Jets or the Texans. So
I thought you were meaning
with a big contract because they've got the money.
No, Jimmy G.
Do that. Yeah, second Jimmy G, obviously.
I thought you meant a certain number 12, but we'll leave all that conversation.
Oh God, no! There's no chance of that.
No,
there's no chance of that.
So
let's not go there.
Johnson entered the game and promptly fumbled a fairly routine snap, which to me was probably the next big hammer blow where you just felt nothing was going to go our way. I think that short field and punch through, that certainly to me was the point where you thought, are we going to be able to get back from this? I fancied our defense to maybe get us a score, and you think, well, if the offense can get us a score as well, I think being two possessions down, even at that point at the half, I don't know how you were all feeling at the show, but that's the point you could just really feel it slipping away. Certainly for me,
I think momentum started to shift our way just before their drive, that long drive that they had, and they scored to go 14 up, which was aided by a ton of very soft penalties.
Yeah.
At the very least, a couple of soft ones. But even though they managed to put a drive together somehow and score, I think we all felt that if we could just get a drive in a 2-minute drill, get down the field, and even just get a field goal with having the ball back in the second half and making adjustments and having the coaches get their head together to try and come up with a plan to put Josh Johnson in the best position possible. I think there was a sense that something could happen, and we could have, because the defense was balling, absolutely balling, and the final stat says exactly what it says. They didn't really do much, and they didn't look impressive at all. Jalen Hurts wasn't good at all on the night. Definitely no MVP level to me on that game anyway. And I think you're right. It could have happened. A big play on defense, a pick six, a fumble, something could have changed the game. All we needed was to keep it close and make them doubt, despite us being down. And when you get that rally and that spirit gets elevated and people start believing, oh, Brock's not here, but we can still do this. Because at first you're like, guys, it's going to be a hard game. But you got to go past that. I think it started doing that, and that fumble it was the dagger to the heart, and I just don't think anybody recovered after that, including Josh Johnson. And bless him, it's not his fault. The guy has clearly been on about 15 teams for a reason. he's probably a very nice dude. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the league anymore. He's probably a hard-working guy. He understands football. He's just not a very good quarterback, and we paid the price. Unfortunately, it's a shame. But yeah,
The only
what can you
thing
say?
you missed out there, Nadji, and this might be an exclusive, Gareth, for those not at Leeds, that questionable pass interference on Jimmy Ward. Nadji was defending Jimmy. I was stood next to him. Straight away, Nadji was like, that's not allowed. And when we had the moment where we thought Jimmy Ward had the pick, Nadji wanted to buy that jersey, everybody. I assure you, when he didn't get that one in, Nadji was as disappointed as the rest of us. But to be fair, that call was questionable because that allowed the drive to continue.
It was within 5 yards. They called him for holding within 5 yards, which is, and it wasn't really holding him. Let's face it. Come on.
So we might not have had the commentary, Gareth, but we had the next best thing because Nadji was giving us all the in-game play, and it was really good.
Yeah, just noticed I was muted there. What we're saying is that happens week in, week out. Defenses get holding calls against them when it's within the 5 yards, and I honestly don't believe the officials bother looking to see if it's within 5 yards.
Yeah, that's true. But the officials tend to let people play in the playoffs. They tend to be a lot more lenient and let the game kind of go and
well that's certainly correct. I mean, just look at Bill Vinovich.
Yeah,
Super Bowl 54. He let people play.
Yeah,
allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, no, it's just holds never got called on us. They just 11 penalties for 81 yards. I mean, some of them were really at the end of the game where people were just very frustrated and all that. But some of those calls were really soft. And we're biased. I've talked to a couple of my Eagles friends that said, "Oh, all the penalties were fine to me." Obviously, you're an Eagle fan, so it looks better to you. But
so, funny enough, what I was going to say is the amount of neutral fans that have reached out to us today to say you had some really bad calls against you last night kind of feels a little bit vindicating in the way that we're feeling today. Because, I mean, I've even had a Rams fan reach out to us and say, you know what, you are absolutely screwed over by those officials last night. And that's a Rams fan.
Wow.
Well, I got 7 first downs out with those 11 penalties, Nadji. Like you said, we don't, on this show, we don't normally bemoan the referees. We don't normally come on and say we've lost because of the refs. And you were saying
it wasn't because of the refs that we lost.
No, it's just when you look at the stats, I think that was the most penalties in a playoff game since 2002. However, Gareth, the Trent Williams one, I'm not going to lie. I think we cheered as loud in that in Leeds as we did for the McCaffrey touchdown. So that was awesome.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah, we did. That was awesome.
I think it's a small victory when you're surrounded by defeat. So
yeah.
Some of the.
I think a lot
of
people have learned the lesson. Don't mess with Trent Williams.
Well, by the letter of the law, I can see why some of them were taken. But if you're going to call those penalties, then there will be a penalty every other play in the NFL. Because they were those kind of penalties that happen all the time. And they're letter of the law, maybe, but are they really impacting the play in any real sense? I think some of those, I think the roughing on the punter was, again, he's touched the punter, so therefore it must be a penalty, rather than
it wasn't roughing.
The attempt.
It was running into the kicker. I hate that call. It's definitely not roughing. He gets his kicking leg and he rolls over and he gets pushed into it.
Exactly.
And he goes for the block. And I'm sure if you go frame by frame, he might even barely touch the ball or been so close. What you ask the guy to just vanish and teleport behind him? It's just not going to happen. But that was massive. It was 4th and 6.
Yeah.
So that you give them, it's still not a first down. So yeah,
it's that cumulative effect. You get caught for penalties, you get frustrated. You'll get caught for another one. And it just seems to be, as you said, I think the defensive performance was immense, and I don't want to be too critical of some
apart
guys.
from one player, which I have a beef with.
Go on then, Nadji. Who's your beef?
I just thought Greenlow missed out completely. He wasn't very good at all. He was a step behind. He missed some tackles. He got caught trying to do too much, especially on that Sanders touchdown on the left side when he got blocked by Kelsey. Your job's not to go underneath. Your job is to bounce out, try and make Sanders cut back inside where all your friends are coming from. That's where help is inside. Never gonna let people outside of you. That's how you lose, especially against outside zone, outside zone run. But I just thought Greenlaw was an absolute shell of himself on that day, and plus add to that the 2 or 3 penalties that he had. The face mark is it's the same as Fred Warner. I can't remember what game it was. Just it happens, not intentional. But there was a couple of other ones which were pretty bad, and yeah, a bit of a shame he missed that game. And I think if he hadn't, the game might have been closer longer, which may have made them doubt, and we could have stayed in it maybe. But yeah, dry, bad game. Yeah, never mind. It didn't lose us the game. I just thought it was probably his poorest game ever with us.
So
Yeah,
Josh
I think
John-
everything is amplified a little bit, to be honest, just because of the raw feelings of what was going through, because we've just been manhandled. And the reason we were being manhandled is because the defence had been on the field for so long, because we couldn't sustain a drive, because we didn't have a quarterback. And it just kind of snowballed all the way from the third snap of our first drive. And it just didn't seem to get any better other than that one bright spot when CMC ran in for the touchdown. Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing we had to cheer. Or, well, actually, that's not entirely true. Obviously, we had all the free giveaways at the end of each quarter. But gameplay-wise, that's all we had to cheer. And yeah, I think it just feels that little bit more raw than what it would have normally felt.
It's
Yeah,
true.
I mean, we always say the quarterback's the most important position, Gareth, and the high-flying offense we all have loved this season. Like Alicia said there, the Eagles just stacked the box. We were running the ball, and as much as we're good at running the ball, that's why it was a little bit disappointing. But on that note, Lee, the giveaways, I must admit I was pretty impressed. I was impressed with how they ran last night. I think the turnout was pretty good. We had a mixture of new and old supporters. So I want to say that the venue at Ellen Road was pretty impressive. I quite enjoyed myself.
It was really good. It was really good. Cheap food, but pretty tasty. I want to be honest, and that's quite nice. Cheap booze, which is nice as well, and a little free booze at halftime. That's always nice.
And the effort as well with the branding, I thought was quite
the branding
was
was
excellent.
on point. But it was big enough, it was big enough, and there was screen everywhere, but it wasn't too overwhelming. So if you wanted to step away from it, you could. And all the Leeds fans were very respectful. I didn't see any people came to watch the game. There was none.
Yeah.
I know most people were a bit apprehensive of the soccer fan. Sorry guys to call it that, but it's easier. Soccer fan coming in and ruining it by being a disruption and being not understanding what football is about. And it wasn't that at all. It was really, really good, and I think everybody enjoyed it, despite obviously the mostly somber atmosphere from the get-go. I mean, I think that's what I said to Martin, which I have to mention his name, Martin Peppert. Thank you so very much for driving me to Leeds and back. Absolute legend. I would have probably not made it if it wasn't for you, so thank you very much. But I was saying that on the car on the way back. I just said, look, I'd much rather I'd spend the evening with you guys and experiencing this with a bunch of people that we could laugh through it, kind of try and find, talk to other people about other things than by myself in my living room, with a cup of tea or whatever, and just not really knowing what to do with all that anger and frustration. So yeah, it was amazing. That meetup was really, really good. And I don't believe in a Leeds curse, and it's nonsense. It's exactly the same thing to say that the Davante Smith catch lost us the game. It didn't, and Leeds didn't make us lose the game. It was amazing. I can't wait to have another meetup here or somewhere else.
Yeah, so that segues into the story I'm going to tell for the third time tonight, and that is that there's no curse about where you go to watch a game. No. There's not. If there was, I would never have been back to Levi's after my second visit, because the first 3 games I went to Levi's, we lost. Yeah, either side of those games, we won. So I was there for 3 losses that were sandwiched by wins. So if we're going to take jinxes like that, then I would never ever go back to Levi's. It's just daft. Leeds as a venue, it was absolutely fantastic at Elland Road. I echo everything that Nadji said. I think the food could have been better. I didn't eat it, to be honest, so I can't actually.
It was all right.
It
£5 quid.
Didn't look that appetizing. It
True.
It looked like football ground food.
Yeah, but you know, we've all been to places where you get there and it's £15, and then you're disappointed. I'm saying for £5 quid, you can't really expect much more than feeding you.
Price-wise, it was fine.
It was pretty good, yeah.
So I did have a conversation with Aaron from Leeds United at the end of the night, and there was plans in place if we got to the Super Bowl to have another watch party at Elland Road, and the plans for the Super Bowl watch party were absolutely amazing. This would have been a proper American style game. It would have been. So now that I've got a good idea of what they've got in mind for future watch parties, I'm really excited. I think I've already mentioned on one of the previous pods, we're definitely looking at doing 2 a year now. One in the north, one in the south, to give people plenty of opportunity to turn up. The one in the north is not guaranteed to be Leeds. It's not. It could be somewhere else. It just makes sense to be in Leeds. And the one down south, I would say, if I was to guess, it's going to be London. It's going to be London because that's the most obvious place. It's got the highest concentration of people there, so you've got a better chance. And it's easier to get to.
People.
Yeah. Obviously, not for those that live in the southwest. It's still a bit of a trek for them. But yeah, I mean, next season we're going to be looking at having 2 meetups. So I was very happy with Leeds, and like Paul says, everything ran Ben. Apart from the commentary and the TVs, which it took us.
I think it was Sky anyway. So
yeah, and I think it took us for about. Was it the third quarter? It was into the third quarter by the time.
I think when after Johnson was
again.
out, so.
Don't know if anybody's aware. So the reason that happened is when the fire alarm went off, because we had a fire alarm for a couple of minutes. When the fire alarm system went off, it actually burnt out one of the receivers for the sound system. And that's right. So they had to wait. They had to ring somebody to come out. It took them an hour. Yeah, it took them an hour to get out, and all it was swap out a little box, plug in a little 3.5 milli audio jack, and then you go. It worked again.
No, is it right?
But that's all it was. A little unit had burnt out because of the fire alarm system going off.
Yeah, I think the one criticism of Leeds is obviously the location, and if you live down in South, and I get it, it's annoying to try and get to it. I totally understand, and but you know, if we can and we will be able to do 2, then I have no problem going back to Leeds anytime soon.
I mean, what was impressive, Gareth, was it was a Premier League stadium. We were allowed to park right outside. As soon as you walked in, you knew we were there for an NFL night. They had the mannequins with the jerseys on, and the branding was good. And to be fairly, when you were off with your Sky Sports presenter, it was left to me and Nadji to hold the fort and go around. And it was nice to hear people. Okay.
You keep going. I'll just show Wayne's pictures.
Oh,
just
sorry, I thought there was relevance to. So the two ladies there that I was chatting to had ironically travelled down from Middlesbrough and had been coordinating with Lee. But when Lee was talking to Sky Sports, Gareth, me and Nadji went around the room and made sure people knew who we were and were the new members to the group and were from Leeds. And the atmosphere was really good. So, like what the chaps have said, anyone who hasn't been to a watch party seeing these kind of photos on the screen, for those of you watching on YouTube, honestly, you need to get to the next one. And we've had 3 this year, Lee, which I think is the most we've had in 1 year for 49 Faithful UK. Do you think that's right?
Is it only 3? So
we've had 3 in Leeds, didn't we? So
we had 3 in Leeds, and we also had the Super Bowl. So if you talk about calendar year, we've had 4 meetups.
Yeah.
There you go. Nadji working the crowd.
Yeah, look at that. Prove that I went and talked to people.
What I'd like to know is how many cameras were on me when that photo was taken, because apparently he adds £10. So there must have been at least half a dozen cameras on us at the time.
I don't know if you noticed, Gareth, on the Sky coverage, Lee had the patch centre stage, which is always great to
it
see.
did,
49
yeah.
FA
Very
for
nice.
UK.
I
Sky
didn't
Sports.
watch
To
it.
be fair,
And I
Lee,
mean,
you did a great job, buddy.
you know,
Cheers, Matt.
if anything, despite the game being probably the worst game that could have ever happened to us, we had hundreds of people joining the group, and I think if we're done talking about this game, because there's not much else we could say about. I mean, I forgot to say, because I won't let that go. The Brock Express will never stop. 4 for 4, 4 for 4, 100% completion rate. He's amazing. I can't wait for him to get better. Fingers crossed, Brock, you're all right. And that CMC run was pretty special.
Yeah,
Pretty special.
it got everybody screaming
Yeah,
at the event.
that was.
Oh, me and Nadji were more than screaming. I think we held on to each other a little bit too long after that celebration because we were just blown away. People were bouncing off each other. It was amazing. The guy ran from Sky, Gareth, ran as quick as CMC to get from one end of the room to the other to get the footage because he was at the far end. But I mean, just before you move on, I wanted to just say Ward and Lenore had a great game against their two top receivers. It wasn't as if we were burned, and I just wanted to mention that because a lot of people were worried about the Eagles, and Hurts wasn't exactly great. I'm still not over it, Gareth. I don't know who I want to watch, who I want to win this next match. I'll worry about that at the weekend because Chiefs Eagles, it's a bit. I don't know how you chaps are feeling.
It's just that bitter
Chiefs.
end.
I want them to smash them. I didn't really enjoy the way they behaved themselves, despite. And I know they're in the moment; they might not realize what's happening, but. The fact that we had no luck, the game was pretty much over way before halftime.
So it's
the
funny
fact that they
because
were still fighting and like being cheapy, and I just didn't really enjoy that. And
the players took after the fans completely classless.
Yeah, it's a little bit. No, I don't think they're the greatest fan base in the world.
No.
And the team kind of showed that a little bit too much for my liking. You should be a little bit above that when you haven't played the game in a month and you're in a Super Bowl. You got very lucky this season. Let's just calm down a little bit. So I'm hoping Mahomes destroys them. That would be great.
Don't tell me this is breaking news, Paul.
No, I was just going to say, Nadji's showing the photos. So we had another cameo appearance, Gareth, another surprise. Mm-hmm. So in the run-up, I'd asked Lee whether I could help him because, as we all know, Lee organised this one on his own. Us three just sat on the sidelines and Lee's phone. Lee had a taste of what it's like to be me for a week, I think, and Andrew was giving him some grief. So on the night, Lee couldn't give me the guest list to help because there was two names on there that I didn't know were coming. So in the midst of just like chilling around, in strolls Jay Peplow and Kev Pippin, who had adamant they weren't coming, it was too far to travel. So I must admit, I'm not often lost for words, but that was one of those moments like when Neil walked in the casino in Stockton, that was blown away. And it just shows the testament of the group. People don't want to miss out. Nadji jumped in a car share. We had people coming from all over. But I thought that was a nice moment, Lee. And sorry I couldn't help you because you knew they were coming. I mean, so you got your revenge on me because you kept the secret from me because you didn't mention it in the car journey down or anything. So it was just a nice surprise.
As it happens, Leeds was so organised. The list matched the list I had. So we didn't really have to do much. So yeah, I mean that's just another really good thing that they did. It was all organised. Didn't have to worry about it once we got there. You can hear my throat's going because of the shouting last night.
Yeah,
it's going to take a while to get over it because I was shouting that much.
Yeah. A big shout out to Wayne Humphrey, who yet again turned on his camera. And there's a shot, Gareth, where we tried to get as many people in, and the marketing company was like, "Can we get that?" But I did get a couple of pictures of Wayne and his good lady. It was nice to get a picture of Wayne. But again, it's awesome that he turns up. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
He shares the pictures. He does it free of charge.
Yeah. He's absolutely a legend, and he's such a nice guy as well. And his wife.
So what a lot of people probably don't know, if the recent members to the group, back in 2015 when I took the group on, from the previous team of admins, there was only me and Wayne Humphreys who were admins. So it was basically given to us. Everything was passed across and said, look, run it the way you want to run it. So for the next 2 or 3 years, it was just basically me and Wayne, and I kept on adding people as time went over, people who could bring value to the group, help us build what we wanted to build. Wayne sorted out the website because we used to have a website. We don't anymore. Nobody ever used it, but we used to have a website. He used to take care of all the hosting, stuff like that, the email. So I don't know even if you two are aware, Najee, Gareth, but me and Paul have 49 Faithful UK email addresses. So
I didn't know that.
So we use them for anything that we sign up to. So yeah, I mean, Wayne is a pivotal person in when this group was created from the ashes. It's the phoenix from the flame of the original group when Pete Tong during the middle of 2015, and he was very instrumental in setting the foundations for this. So
Legend.
I know you're listening, Wayne. So thank you very much, mate.
Yeah,
it is
thank you.
much appreciated.
Absolutely.
And we have the best fan group in the UK, everybody.
We
and we're gonna
absolutely
shout it
do.
loud
Yeah, but that's
and proud.
we absolutely do. That's why I wanted to pivot. If we want to stop talking about this nonsense game that can't even call it a game really. But if we can recap on what this group has meant this year and the leaps and bounds that we've taken, I didn't think when I started doing this podcast and when I joined the group on a whim, looking for 49er UK fans, was how far that would take us and involve us in my day-to-day life, and it is truly the best group of fans, maybe even of football, period. I think, because even in the States, and I know they've got Niners Empire and they've got way more people involved and they do way more things because they can. But I don't think in terms of the people that we have in the amount of hours and care that is put into this group and the result that we get from it, I think we are second to none. And I'm very proud to be part of this, and I can't wait to see what the future brings. And I can't wait to get my hands even more dirty and do more work, and get to Levi every now and then. That's the result. Yeah. But yeah, I'm incredibly proud of what I do, and to be with you guys. Thank you so much for being there, and what we've accomplished. I say we, but it's mostly this guy in the top left corner over there. And
your other left.
Other left. No,
well, actually,
it's everyone.
Yeah,
it's teamwork. We all have a role to play, and some are smaller than others. But yeah, I thank you for being in this group. Thank you for making it so much fun, and because if you guys weren't there, making it what it is, we wouldn't care as much to give back to you. So it's a push and pull thing, and it's amazing. Thank you so much. It's been an incredible season, and next year is going to be better, hopefully.
Yeah, so I mean, echo what Najee said. The last 12 months in the group has been absolutely fantastic. The ties with the 49ers has always been there. It's been there since 2015. As soon as I took over, I made sure that there was ties there, and it was a slow going process at the start, but obviously the marketing rights kind of kicked in, and all of a sudden we've gone from walking to jumping in a Ferrari and speeding off at 180 mile an hour, and it's just been incredible. I mean, the first thing I did last night was I texted Nick Clark and said, look, it's not the result we wanted, but he absolutely got it. It's not what the team deserve, but thank you very much for everything you've done for the group over the past 12 months. I'm really looking forward to representing the UK and getting as many of our guys out there as possible to fill out that gold mine section. If we can do that next season, that would be absolutely epic, because you could hear the noise last night. That noise, I think this group could take to Levi's. And I think if we were there, we would be the loudest fan chapter ever to grace the gold mine.
I agree.
Because you know what we're
Absolutely
like. It's the whole I'll call it European football. It's the whole
Yeah.
world football. Sorry, I'll call it world football because that's what it is. It's the whole world football culture where that's what we do at games. We actually sing.
Means
We
soccer.
sing, we scream, we chant, and we're used to it. So when we go to a game, we can just continue going all game long. And yeah, I think if we can get about 40 people to be at the same game at the same time, we can fill out that gold mine section and we can have Levi's rocking. And I know the 49ers would love that. I know Nick would love that. Ali, Amber, the whole team out there. That's what I'm going to aim to do for next year. So I know I've teased about it, and I couldn't. I must have obviously forgotten that I hadn't actually broke the news of what the big plan was, because I happened to mention it to a couple of people last night, and the first thing they said is, "Oh, that's the big plan then." So yeah, the big plan is I'm going to find a home game. We're going to get 40 people out of the gold mine section. We're going to fill it out, and we're going to absolutely rock Levi's. I'll get into the benefits of the gold mine section in a dedicated episode where we'll go back over the two of that, me and a few of the other guys did at the back end of November and December, and then you can get a good idea what the benefits are of the gold mine section, and what you can expect, because it is a great experience.
It really is. It really is. That would be awesome. So we're saying 2 meetups, but that's like 3, really, isn't it? It would be a selective meetup in San Francisco for the people that can. Yeah.
Technically, it will be, and the fact that I've got this unbelievable feeling that we will be playing the Jacks at Wembley next year.
Yeah.
And I also think
It's fall.
that
busy.
because I also think the Jags game would not be used as a watch party game. I think it would be separate to the watch party. So potentially we might have a game against the Jags at Wembley, 2 watch parties, one northern, one southern, and then potentially even a game out at Levi's where we get a good group of people together.
That'd be awesome.
It's ambitious, I know, because it does cost a lot of money. But I think the idea is, and I've always said this about the group, when you get to a meetup, you make friends with people. When you make friends with people, unless you're incredibly shy, which I appreciate some people are, you just buddy up when you go across there. You share the hotel room, and that almost halves your cost because the hotel rooms over there are quite expensive. So that saves you money. So it's that type of thing that makes it affordable to go out there. And you don't have to go out there for a week or 2 weeks. Go out there the Friday, come back the Monday. That's what I intended to do if we got the Super Bowl.
That's what I did for Dallas.
Yeah. I was going to go out to Arizona on the Friday morning, come back on the Monday morning, and just find a pub, a bar, and watch the Super Bowl in there with some of the Arizona chapters. Because they'd already reached out and I said, that's what I intended to do. And said, look, if you do come across, let us know and you can come and watch it with us. So that was the idea. You go across on the Friday morning, come back on the Monday, but take in that whole Super Bowl atmosphere.
So just wanted to say, Wayne has posted the photos in the group and people are asking his permission to use them, and just shows you what a legend he is, Gareth. He's put, go ahead, but make sure you tag the 49er Faithful UK and the 49ers, because we want to show that they mean business. And one thing that I wanted to say on the giveaways, Gareth, whoever won last night, everybody was cheering for them. There was no jealousy. There was no animosity. The chains were the first giveaway. The high fives were going out. And even that, Lee, the giveaways that they brought over again surpassed my expectations. When we walked in and we got the foam finger and we got the pen
jersey right there.
And then, like, to be fair, Gareth, I won the last jersey of the night. It definitely lifted my spirits. And all they did was they took the list of names and they randomly picked people's names out. And I thought it was good. It added a nice touch to it. At the end of every quarter, there was a giveaway. We got a free drink at half time. Little things like that, which shows the respect for the fan base. And also, we made a point of thanking the staff as we left. And I think we made a good impression, Lee, when we left.
I think we did make a good impression. Nobody was too drunk and caused trouble, although there was a few people very drunk. I'm looking at you, Jamie. But, I think we behaved ourselves admirably. And for people that use the photo of Wayne, do tag us, but tag Wayne as well. Credit him. It's his pictures.
Yeah, so Wayne actually has a photography business. When you reach out
do
to
his
Wayne,
work. So yeah. And if he asks you to take it down for whatever reason, just do it. It's his pictures. Don't do anything stupid with it. I know you won't, but
Paul, you're obviously very close to the social media side. I think the two boys have covered it quite well, really, about the growth of 49er Faithful UK. I think probably some final words from you, Paul, before we wrap it up, on the community, really, the 49er Faithful UK.
I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Lee deserves all the credit. Lee is the president. I love that Lee got his recognition on Sky Sports last night. And we talk off air as for friends. We have a group chat. Like you said, Nadji, when I dipped my toe into this doing podcasts and then Lee handed me the social media account, honestly, Gareth, didn't think beyond our wildest dreams that would be wholesome podcasts for the 49ers, or the content creators would be asking us to go on their shows. And the reach last night, Gareth, the amount of people who said, yeah, I've seen your tweets. I said, the one or two that I send out a day. I've seen the Facebook group. They knew who we were. As Nadji said, that's very humbling when people come into a room, shake your hand and say, thank you for the podcast. We look forward to them.
I'm still not used to it. That's insane. I don't get it.
It sounds a bit daft, but people were like, you, Lee and Nadji, are actually in real life like you are on the podcast, because we were watching the game, people were coming over. So the growth of the group has been amazing. Nick Clark, Lee's already touched upon that. He has definitely gone up miles in my estimation. When you think back, Lee, to the email we got where it was like, can you jump on a Zoom call? And the fact that he actually classes us as equals, and it isn't a case of the 49ers tell us what to do. But yeah, the social media's going strong, Gareth. We're nearly close to 5,000 on Twitter. I am doing that the right way, which means organically we're growing it. I'm not trying to push it too much, but if we could get the 5,000 on Twitter, and the new challenge, Gareth, for all of us is the YouTube account. So we have about 380 subscribers at the moment, which has gone up since we've started putting more content on there. We will be putting more content in the off season. If you do, watch a video, like, subscribe, comment, share. Definitely wanting to get more and more people involved. And if anyone's got any ideas, reach out to me. I run the social media, but like you said, Gareth and Nadji, the content comes from the community, and it isn't just what I think up. And Lee does keep me right. There's been a couple of taps on the wrist. Not many. There's been a couple. But the crowning moment for me, gents, was when you guys were in Vegas and I had the 49er Faithful UK trending over the NFL.
Yeah,
over the 49ers.
That was pretty
fantastic.
Fantastic.
That's awesome, yeah. I mean, it was the kicking point for this season, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
It was like, do you guys want to go to Vegas? And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Is this for real?
I mean, it kind of hasn't slowed down at all, has it?
No.
It's just been one thing after another. I mean, I know there's a big gap between us coming back from Vegas and the watch party, but obviously we were building that in the background. And it just feels as though we now travelling at 180 mile an hour. And I just want to say
the
to Paul,
Brock Express.
Yeah. So Paul does an absolutely fantastic job on social media.
Does. I could not do what he does.
I know I do all the back end stuff, and I try and sort out all the negative aspects of the group and keep that away from Paul, and I'll deal with that. But social media wise, we've just come on leaps and bounds since Paul took that on. So yeah, you're doing a fantastic job, and if I keep on talking, I might get another two fantastics in here to match up with the Sky interview. I thought I'd only done 3 fantastics, but when I counted it, I had 5 fantastics in there, and I've just reached that number now. So I'll stop talking.
Let's not forget about fantastic Mr. Hostman right here, who keeps us in check, and I have never been so happy to hand off something like this to somebody, because Gareth, honestly, you've got a load of charisma. You were built to be a host. You were born to be a host. You're far better at me than I am at hosting. I mean, I started doing podcasts because I had my arm twisted to do podcasts. It took us a while to start and feel comfortable.
as far as my hosting skills are concerned, I don't think I'm a particularly good host. In my own opinion, I think I come across as a bit wooden. I'm like Steve Terribly Exciting Davis. I think that's how I would class my enthusiasm levels. So yeah, thank you for hosting. You're doing an absolutely fantastic job. I'm sure you make Gareth. I'm sure you make Nadji and Paul smile just as much as I do at some of your introductions, because you do catch us by surprise. Obviously, you don't tell us what you're going to do, and it gives us a good laugh, as well as obviously everybody that's listening as well.
And it's part of the reason this pod has gone better. It doesn't do it without a good host, and so thank you very much. And
I can't leave out Nadji. So ever since we took on Discord, Discord is a completely foreign concept to me, honestly. So now that we're on YouTube, if you've never watched the YouTube and you only listen to the podcast, just get yourself on. If you've never met us, you'll see why it's foreign to me. I'm too old for Discord. It's a kid's thing as far as I'm concerned. But Nadji polices that really well. And it's something that takes pressure off of me as well. So in the past, I'd have probably felt pressurized to do something like that. But it's good to have different people doing different jobs within the group, and it all makes the group come together. And while I'm on, I'm going to give a shout out to some of the other admins that are quite active, the likes of Rab Wright, Simon Brown,
thanks, Rab. Yep,
Jay Petlaw,
absolutely.
Gary Thorpe's come on recently, last August, September. He's helping out.
Hard work.
And a couple of the more quieter admins who were there in the start to help me out. Just so I had a couple of people that I actually trusted in the admin team. David Ellicott, obviously my best mate, who isn't very active on social media. He doesn't particularly like the whole Facebook thing. And Andrew Hudson, who kind of tailed away from the Facebook thing a little bit, but he always listens to the pod. And I nearly killed him the other day when I accidentally said Dallas players had sex on the field. And I said, what was I trying to say? I can't remember what I was trying to say. But it came out as sex. Because he was in the gym at the time, and he was on the bench press listening to it.
Oh, dear.
And he nearly dropped the weights on his head.
Well, he nearly got his revenge last night, didn't
he? He did nearly get his revenge last night. Yes, he nearly killed all four of us in the car.
But we appreciate the drive, Andy. Thanks for the lift there and back, and we survived. It was a good laugh.
It was.
There's a lot of well-deserved shout-outs there, and I think while it's often it's the four of us on the pod who are quite visible, I think people should know there are quite a lot of admin teams of the admin team out there doing little bits and pieces behind the scenes that help everything keep running. And I think ultimately it's the people in the group that have responded to what you've done, the people who in the group who've engaged in the kind of manner and standards that the group has set, that said we're all 49er fans, we're on the same side here, we're all hurting together, we'll all celebrate together. But I think together is the important word there, whether it's celebrating or hurting.
Yeah.
And I think today has shown it, and there were so many good comments in the group immediately after the game, which are just like, that's just an unbelievable amount of bad luck. We'll go again. I believe in this team. I believe in.
We'll go again.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll absolutely go again.
I've got one more shout out from the admin team, and I wanted to leave this one to the last. And again, it's an admin who isn't particularly active anymore, but he's been here since the start. He was one of the co-founders of the group back in 2010, and that's Brian Davis. Brian, obviously, me and Brian started the podcast off again back in 2018. I think it was me and Brian for the first 2 seasons before you guys came on, and we started doing the awesome foursome from season 3 onwards. Brian's always been in the background supporting me in everything I do. He's very busy now, so he doesn't get the time that he'd like. He was gutted that he couldn't get up to the meetup because of his work situation. He's missed out on a few meetups this year. But I'd just like to put on record my thanks to Brian as well, because he's been very supportive all the way through.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts before we wrap this up on the game or the season? Or
it almost feels like a bit like we're in the USS Enterprise here. We're going to head into the unknown now.
We are, but fear not, people. We won't go anywhere. I know our season's over, but there's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to the Niners, and it's going to be fun doing so. We got free agency, we got the draft coming. I know with our first rounders, but we can still find some people. We're going to need them, and we'll talk all things Niners.
And we're also doing the Supporters Club live on Thursday night for the 49ers
That's
again.
right. That's right. So if you're a Supporters Club, or join if you want to see us live.
Yeah.
To start with.
Second appearance, boys.
Second appearance.
Second appearance.
One might say the biggest one. We're doing season review, so we're gonna have to try and lift a lot of people's spirit on Thursday, and it's gonna be fun to do that for the Niners.
Can't wait to hear Gareth's introductions for that one.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Oh, you're putting the pressure on Gareth now, man.
Well, he can take it. He's good enough.
He's a legend.
It was always going to be a bit of a high stakes slot. I think that one. It was either going to be the autopsy or it was going to be Super Bowl preview. So, but it was not to be. I think we should wrap this up. Hopefully, the therapy has been good enough. There's been quite a lot of laughs and I think quite a lot of positivity. And I think ultimately everything that hurt about that game is just we didn't get a chance to see what we could do. That's what makes it difficult to take. But it's just that's not a loss where I really feel like we've been beaten by another team. It's just a loss to circumstance. And I think that's it's bitter now, but maybe this will build to something better. And if not, I'm going to wrap up.
Keep the faith and never lose hope.
Never lose hope, indeed. And you know, guys, the best part of the season is coming. It's the 4 fuckers. The award show is very soon.
Yeah.
So we will be soliciting your votes as soon as we. We'll probably do that after the Super Bowl, I would imagine. So we got a couple of weeks to think about who we're going to vote for and etc. Like that. But it's exciting, and it's usually our best show of the season. We have a lot of fun doing it.
We do. Yeah.
And so you can look forward to that.
And just so everybody knows, that wasn't obscene language that Nadji was doing there.
No,
so the 4 fuckers.
Sorry, YouTube.
Yeah. So the 4 fuckers stands for 49er Faithful UK Awards.
That's right.
It's an entirely innocent acronym.
It is.
Absolutely.
Entirely.
And it doesn't refer to us 4. Although it more likely does to every listener.
It could do.
It
Absolutely.
Does. So I think we should knock this one on the head.
Yeah, I feel better though.
Good.
I feel a lot better.
So yeah, thanks for joining me. Thanks to everyone who listens to the show, and thanks to everybody who watches the show. Not the show we wanted to be doing, but we do hope it helped you a little bit with the healing process. The 2023 season started in that locker room at the end of that game. We've got free agency, draft, training camp battles, pre-season, all to look forward to, and the 49er Faithful UK Awards and the Supporters Club live event. So this isn't the end of something special. It is just the start. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, Nana gang.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the